Now come to questions to the Secretary of State for Wales. Nick Smith.
Number 1, please, Mr. Speaker.
Secretary of State.
Mr. Speaker, this is my first oral question session as Welsh Secretary, and so I'd like to congratulate and welcome all members elected to represent Welsh constituencies, and particularly the 84% of the members from our own benches. And may I also welcome the Shadow Secretary of State for Scotland to his front bench for Welsh questions. Finally, I'd like to pay tribute to our fantastic Welsh Olympians and Paralympians who have brought home a record medal haul to a very proud nation. With your permission, Mr. Speaker, I'll answer questions 1, 7, 9 and 12 together. I recently met with the Energy Secretary and visited the Energy Cluster in Pembrokeshire with the Deputy Prime Minister. This government has established Great British Energy to drive down bills, create jobs and deliver energy security. Its new partnership with the Crown Estate will boost new green technologies such as floating offshore wind in the Celtic Sea, and this will supercharge the work already undertaken by the Welsh Government, which the Prime Minister saw firsthand in West Wales with the new First Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Can I support the honourable member in her sentiments and wish her well in her job? In advance of the statement, what can my honourable friend say about jobs and investment in this crucial sector?
I thank the honourable gentleman for his question, and I'm delighted that 7 Welsh tidal, solar and offshore wind projects were successful in securing contracts in this government's main scheme for supporting low-carbon electricity generation. These projects will support this government's mission to deliver clean power by 2030, as well as creating high-quality green jobs and attracting private investment. And I look forward to further Welsh projects coming through in future rounds.
Right, Gill German.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I thank my right honourable friend for her answer. I'm delighted to see her in her place. I'm pleased to say that the development of skills needed for this is well underway in Clwyd North. Creating enterprises in Rhyl work with local social housing providers to develop energy-efficient housing solutions, and they've partnered with Rhyl College to train local people in renewable energy, green heating and solar technologies, giving them the key skills needed for the green energy sector and us the local trained workforce we need. Does my right honourable friend agree with me that green energy offers huge growth and employment potential for areas like Clwyd North? And will she join me on a visit to creating enterprises the next time she is back home in North Wales?
Can I congratulate the honourable member for winning her seat, and can I say that this government has a clear mission to make Britain a clean energy superpower by investing in homegrown energy to grow the economy, create jobs, boost skills and strengthen our energy independence. And in Wales, we have the resources and skills to be a leader in cutting-edge energy technologies, creating those high-quality jobs right across the country, including in North Wales. And it would be a pleasure to visit creating enterprises with my honourable friend.
Bill Esterson.
My right honourable friend mentioned the exciting opportunities from offshore wind for the people and economy of Wales. Can she tell the House about the discussions that she and her Cabinet colleagues have had with the Crown Estate about maximising the benefits of the opportunity?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The new innovative partnership between Great British Energy and the Crown Estate, we believe, will leverage up to £60 billion of private investment into the UK's drive for energy independence. And I'm delighted that the Crown Estate has today published plans to bring an additional 20 to 30 gigawatts of offshore wind to market by 2030. This is excellent news for Wales's clean energy ambitions, particularly for floating offshore wind in the Celtic Sea. And I recently met the Energy Secretary and separately the Crown Estate to discuss how this new industry can deliver jobs and growth across Wales.
Henry Tufnell.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Can the Secretary of State set out how Great British Energy will deliver benefits to the Port of Milford Haven and families across my constituency of Mid and South Pembrokeshire?
Secretary of State.
Can I also welcome my honourable friend to his seat? I had the privilege of visiting the Port of Milford Haven Energy Cluster in Pembrokeshire with my honourable friend and the Deputy Prime Minister in August. I really value the critical role that the port plays in securing the UK's energy supply, and I'm proud that the region is pioneering new green technologies. We've established Great British Energy to drive investments in these technologies, which will deliver sustainable, skilled jobs in Pembrokeshire and across Wales.
Medi.
Diolch, Cyfarwydd. Ynys has a long history of clean energy production, but Tory delays over Wilbur have cost the island over 400 jobs since 2010. In March, the now Secretary of State urged the UK government to get on with delivering new nuclear power. Now she's in power, will she back those words with a concrete plan?
Can I welcome the Honourable Lady to her place, and just to say that our manifesto commitment to deliver new nuclear in places like Wilbur stands. We will do that, and this government has now completed purchase of the Wilbur site, as she knows. We will end over a decade of inaction by the previous government on nuclear power as part of our wider plans to get Britain building again.
Secretary John Lamont.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. Can I start by congratulating the new ministers on their appointments. The last Conservative government spearheaded various clean energy schemes for Wales, including the Celtic Freeport, which has the potential to create more than 10,000 green jobs. So will the Minister join with me today in recognising the last Conservative government led the way in delivering clean energy projects for Wales? Does she also recognise that the Welsh Government has to play its part too? And lastly, can the Minister outline what specific discussions she has had with the Welsh Government for their own plans to support clean energy projects in Wales?
Secretary of State.
Can I thank the Honourable Gentleman for his remarks? My colleague, the Secretary of State for Business and Trade, said immediately following the election that we do not intend to make any changes to the existing Freeport commitments. I'm backing the delivery of the 2 Freeports in Wales, and I'm very pleased that with the involvement of the Welsh Government, we have fair work elements within those Freeports in Wales, which I fully support.
Steve Witherden.
Number 2, please, Mr Speaker.
Secretary of State.
Under my chairmanship, the Transition Board has moved from discussion to delivery. Last month, I announced £13.5 million for supply chain, skills and employability funds. I also announced our Business and Community Pledge Scheme, bringing together over 50 organisations in support of those workers who are affected.
Steve Witherden.
I thank the Right Honourable Lady for beginning to deliver funds to support business confidence and provide a safety net for workers. Can she explain how these will support workers in practice who are dealing with great uncertainty?
The 2 funds that have been announced are specifically for people in businesses and people working in the supply chain, because we know that they have already been affected by the uncertainty around the situation at Port Talbot. These will help people to retrain and reskill into new employment, and for the businesses it will help them to diversify and go into new markets if they are the primary customer of Tata Steel.
I think it's grouped as well, Secretary of State, isn't it?
I do apologise, Mr Speaker.
No problem.
So I will answer question 5 as well.
That's great. Jessica Morton.
Thanks, Mr Speaker. And I know my right honourable friend will serve Wales admirably in her new role. Lamwell's Steelworks in Newport is a key strategic site, manufacturing world-class automotive steel and more. There's so much potential in the site, and I know we all await this statement later, but can the Minister outline what she's been doing alongside the Department of Business to secure future investment in Llanwern as part of ongoing discussions with Tata?
Secretary of State.
This government absolutely understands the importance of Llanwern as a key manufacturing facility for steel products. We have worked with Tata Steel UK to ensure that Llanwern is clearly considered in plans for the future of steel in South Wales, and I know that my honourable friend is a dedicated advocate on behalf of the workers at Llanwern and will be closely following the upcoming statement from the Secretary of State for Business.
Secretary of State John Lamont.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. Now, today the Government is expected to unveil details of its steel plan for South Wales. From what's been briefed to the press, it seems that the core of this new deal is the same deal, worth hundreds of millions of pounds, that was agreed by the last Conservative government. Now, at the time, the Minister and the Welsh Labour Party appeared to rubbish the deal and suggested that a better deal was possible. Does the Minister now regret previous criticism of the deal by the Labour Party?
So stay.
Mr Speaker, can I say I don't recognise that characterisation of the deal that the Business Secretary will make a statement on later. And I would say that the Business Secretary will make a statement to this House. I don't want to preempt that because we are a party and a government that will always come to this House first to make major announcements. But I am confident that he will set out a sustainable future for steel making in Port Talbot, in Wales and across the UK.
John Lamont.
Well, Mr Speaker, the fact remains that key parts of the deal, as I say, as appears in the press, does appear to be largely unchanged from what was agreed before, including almost £100 million to help steel workers who might lose their jobs. In their negotiations with the last government, Tata Steel were crystal clear no other deal was possible. Moving forward, it's crucial that funding to help retain those who will lose their jobs reaches them swiftly. So can the Minister lay out the detail of how and when the money is going to be sent to those impacted?
So stay.
I'd refer the honourable gentleman to my previous answer. We had the Transition Board in place for nearly 10 months under the last government. Not a single penny went out of the door to businesses or workers affected. Within weeks of my taking over chairmanship of the Transition Board, £13.5 million has been released to help supply chain businesses and workers. That is the first tranche of further funds to come.
Liberal Democrat spokesperson Sarah Green.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. May I welcome the front bench to their places. They will know that the steel industry in Wales is just one of a number that have suffered in recent decades. Last year, the Industrial Communities Alliance said that tackling the effects of deindustrialisation in Wales has been hampered by competitive bidding that forces local authorities in deprived areas to bid against each other, which prevents partnership working and a more strategic approach. So can I ask the Secretary of State to confirm whether future rounds of the UK Shared Prosperity Fund allocated to Wales will no longer be subject to competitive bidding?
Can I thank the Honourable Lady for her question? This government was elected on a manifesto that stressed that a partnership approach with local authorities and an intention to stabilise the funding system moving away from wasteful competition. These are the principles we will seek to apply as we think about the future of local growth funding. And as with all government funding decisions regarding funding beyond March 2025, these are ultimately a matter for the spending review.
Chair of the Select Committee, Ruth Jones.
I'm very grateful. Under the previous government, the Transition Board met 6 times and formed 2 subcommittees, but didn't distribute a single penny of funding that was promised to support businesses and workers in South Wales. So can the Secretary of State provide an assessment of how the Transition Board has changed under her leadership?
Can I congratulate my honourable friend on her election as Chair of the Welsh Affairs Select Committee, and I'm looking forward to engaging with her and her colleagues as they take on their important work. As I set out, we have released £13.5 million. It's the first tranche of funding from the Transition Board, and that has changed it radically from discussion to delivery. That's what we promised, that's what we've delivered.
John Davies.
Question number 3, Mr Speaker.
Secretary of State.
Last week, I met with the Transport Secretary to discuss rail infrastructure and steps to improve cross-border connectivity. I also joined Welsh Government Cabinet Secretary Ken Skates to announce a joint Network Rail and Transport for Wales programme which will increase rail capacity by 40%, with 50% more timetabled services on the North Wales main line.
Sean Davies.
Mr Speaker, it's a real delight to see my friend, right honourable friend in her place. The train line from Aberystwyth to Birmingham International via Telford is critical to the university, to the economies and the connectivity of Mid Wales, Telford and wider Shropshire. What conversations has my right honourable friend had with the Welsh Government, Transport for Wales and the Department for Transport here about improving that line and the rolling stock?
I agree with my honourable friend that the Cambrian line provides an important connection to and from Aberystwyth University, and it plays a key role in supporting cross-border connectivity for the people of Mid Wales and beyond. In recent years, Network Rail has undertaken work to improve infrastructure on the Cambrian line to support the introduction of new trains. Enhancements to the railway in Wales that deliver passenger benefits, including proposed electrification, are being considered by the Wales Rail Board.
Liz Saville-Roberts.
Diolch yn fawr iawn, Lefarydd. I'm sure the Secretary of State will join me in sending every sympathy to the friends and family of the late great singer and comedian Dewi Puss. On-the-day cancellations on the North Wales to London line stood at 15.4% in August. We consistently have the highest on-the-day cancellation rates for the entire Avanti network, 3 to 4 times higher than the next worst part of the network. How will she use her role to stop Avanti punishing Welsh travellers?
Can I thank the Right Honourable Lady for her question and concur with her remarks? The Government is clear that performance on Avanti West Coast has not been good enough. We've heard many times in this chamber about the appalling service. Too many cancellations, too many delays. This Government has required Avanti West Coast to improve its performances on services. I discussed this with the Transport Secretary last week. Ministers and officials are holding regular performance reviews with Avanti West Coast and Network Rail to hold them to account, closely monitoring compliance with contractual obligations and driving improvements using the contractual mechanisms.
Liz Savile-Roberts.
But sadly, it seems that between Welsh Government and Labour in government here in the UK, that service in North Wales is not a priority. We see that in the rate of on-the-day cancellations. But the truth is, of course, that the railways are broken, and Labour's plan fails to address the chronic underfunding that has caused it, particularly in Wales. Now, in 2022, the then Shadow Secretary of State said that it was utterly illogical to designate HS2 as an England and Wales project, and she called on the Conservatives to cough up the billions owed to Wales. Will she cough up now?
Secretary of State.
We can't go back in time and change the way that project was commissioned, was managed and classified by the previous Conservative government. They need to accept responsibility for the chaos, delay and waste under their watch. But what we can do is work closely with our Senedd and local authority colleagues to develop and invest in transport projects that improve services for passengers right across Wales.
Matthew Patrick.
Question number 4, please, Mr. Speaker.
Secretary of State.
I was pleased to meet with the Transport Secretary last week to discuss our approach to rail in Wales. She's reviewing the previous government's transport infrastructure commitments and will report in the autumn. We will deliver rail improvements which will make the services more accountable to the people who use them, through the Passenger Railway Services Bill, which completed its common stages last week, and Great British Railways, launched in shadow form earlier this month.
Matthew Patrick.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and it's great to see my honourable friend in her place. Connections between my constituency of Wirral West and North Wales are many, they're deep and they're valued on both sides of the border. Our transport connections, however, are sadly lagging behind. Could she please set out what conversations she's having with ministers and stakeholders to improve those connections?
Can I welcome my honourable friend to the House and congratulate him? In my meeting with the Transport Secretary last week, we discussed a range of issues, including connections between Wales and Merseyside. I recognise the importance of cross-border travel for people across the region. The UK and Welsh governments are committed to strengthening these connections, which are vital to unlocking economic growth and employment opportunities for people and businesses. And I know rail enhancements are required to improve services on the Wrexham to Bidston line, and I will work across government to drive progress on this.
Torsten Bell.
Mr. Speaker.
Minister.
Thank you. Well, with your permission, Mr. Speaker, I will answer questions 6 and 10 together. This government's #1 mission is to kickstart economic growth across the United Kingdom. Wales can be at the forefront of this mission with renewable energy, advanced manufacturing, our vibrant creative sector, fintech and the life sciences, each offering huge opportunities to create jobs and drive growth.
Torsten Bell.
Can I thank the Minister for her answer and congratulate her on her appointment. Welsh universities are central to economic growth in many of our communities, but these are difficult times. Swansea University has already seen 200 voluntary redundancies and many more are happening across Wales, and our universities are affected by decisions of the Welsh Government as well as those of the UK Government. So can the Minister update the House on how the two governments will work together to nurture these crucial institutions?
Minister.
I welcome my honourable friend to his place, and I am very sorry to hear of the recent redundancies at Swansea University. The Secretary of State and I met with Professor Paul Boyle, Vice-Chancellor of Swansea University and Chair of Universities Wales, only last week to discuss the challenges facing Welsh institutions and ways of supporting the higher education sector in Wales. We recognise Welsh universities, including Swansea, have a huge contribution to make, both to our mission for growth in the economy and within their local regions. Colleagues at all levels in the UK and Welsh Government are working closely together to safeguard their potential amidst the difficult economic circumstances that we've inherited.
Speaker. Passengers, as has already been said today, passengers on the North Wales coast are being let down by the poor performance of Avanti. This is an issue which is affecting passengers and businesses, hampering economic growth in my constituency of Bangor Aberconwy. Could I ask specifically what discussions the Secretary of State has had with her colleague, the Secretary of State for Transport, on this issue?
Minister.
I welcome my honourable friend to her place, and as she quite rightly says, transport plays an essential role in driving economic growth across Wales. My right honourable friend, the Secretary of State, met the Transport Secretary last week to discuss rail connectivity, including the performance of Avanti. And as the Secretary of State has set out earlier, the Government is clear that the performance of Avanti West Coast has not been good enough, with too many cancellations and delays. So ministers and officials are now holding regular performance reviews with Avanti West Coast and Network Rail and monitoring Avanti West Coast compliance with its contractual obligations with the aim of securing better services for her constituents.
Colin Lockhart.
Mr. Speaker, one of the biggest contributions to economic growth is the agri-food sector. With today being Back British Farming Day, will the Minister agree with me that farmers, whether they be in Wales or Northern Ireland, need the support of this government to ensure they reach their full potential to contribute to economic growth?
As the member quite rightly says, farmers have a huge contribution both to the economic growth of this country and to our food security, and that is why we are absolutely determined to work hand in hand with Welsh Government to ensure that we can offer the very best to our Welsh farmers.
Sir Ashley Fox.
Question number 8.
Minister.
Thank you. Nuclear energy can play an important role in helping to achieve energy security and clean power, whilst providing thousands of skilled jobs. Great British Nuclear has acquired the Wilver site with a view to developing a new nuclear project. Decisions on the project and the technologies to be deployed at Wilver will be made in due course.
Fox.
Mr. Speaker, the last government announced the biggest expansion in nuclear power for 70 years. Including the commissioning of Hinkley Point C in Somerset. Does the Minister agree that a new nuclear power plant at Wilver is vital to the UK's energy security, and can she give a timeline for its development?
Minister.
As a previously designated nuclear site that has hosted nuclear power, Wilver is ideally placed either to be used for large-scale nuclear or indeed to be used for a series of small modular reactors. And we will be setting out our plans on the site in due course.
David Chadwick.
Question number 11, please, Mr. Speaker.
Minister.
This government is committed to improving digital connectivity, as demonstrated by our commitment to full gigabit and national 5G coverage by 2030. I've recently met internet and mobile providers as well as Ofcom. The honourable member will be aware that thanks to the UK government's shared rural network, 4G connectivity has been boosted in his own constituency as a result of the activation last month of 2 additional masts.
David Chadwick.
Many of my constituents living in areas like Llanyrthel and Llanfowr have been missed out by previous rollout schemes. Is the government committed to ensuring that funding is available to ensure that people living in so-called hard-to-reach areas can be connected?
Well, I very much appreciate the concern that the honourable member has for his constituents, particularly in a rural area which has so many challenges for connectivity. What I can tell him is that in his constituency, over 90% of the premises can access superfast broadband speeds, and to extend gigabit-capable coverage further, approximately 3,000 premises in his constituency are currently expected to receive gigabit-capable connection through Project Gigabit cross-regional procurement framework, and alongside this there are 21 voucher projects across the constituency which include approximately 5,000 premises. But if he concerns, perhaps he could come and see me on the matter.
Jerome
Thanks.
Number 13.
The Secretary of State, I presume.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. We recognise that the NHS in Wales faces unique challenges and are committed to working closely with the Welsh Government to improve NHS waiting times. Our approach is grounded in the belief that public services such as healthcare should not just be fit for purpose today, but be robust and resilient for the future.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. Treating cancer early is absolutely critical for survival rates. In England, the target is to have 85% of patients treated within 62 days. Now, in Wales, that target is more generous. It's just 75%, and yet it has never been achieved. The current rate is an appalling 56.7%, much worse than the equivalent figure in England. So why is it that Welsh Labour is underperforming England, and is it really still the blueprint for government?
Secretary of State.
More people in Wales have been told that they don't have cancer than ever before, and that's good news. Performance increased against the 62-day target for treatment in June compared to the previous month, and over the last 2 years, the number of patients waiting longer than 2 years has reduced. Average waits for treatment remain steady.